Hi there, it's Catherine, and I'm here for my Sunday reflections, my weekly vlog. And I'm just so glad that to be here. Um, and it's been a very eventful day. Um, week Last weekend, I was at a wedding, and I shared much about the wedding with you. I actually did my weekly vlog from the Sunday brunch that everybody had. It was more of a destination wedding, even though it was here in Boston. So that's just been a wonderful week, sort of coming in, and I want to share with you what happened after the brunch because I did a short tour of all of the different foods that were there. Most of them were carbs. And as I said, it was mostly a destination wedding. The bride and the groom are from Oregon. They they met here. They both lived here. Um, Daniel, who is the groom, is my dearest buddy from graduate school, and Rachel, she just immediately is part of the family. She just is such a perfect match for him. But anyway, at the after the vlog, everybody started to clean up. The vlog's at 11:30, and so by the time we were done, it was close to noon, and the brunch was 10 to 12, and everybody there was a massive amount of food left over. I'm talking about I showed you two huge baskets of bagels, and there was probably one and a half left. I mean, huge shopping bag filled with bagels. And there was French toast. There was all kinds of cinnamon rolls, Danish. And you get the idea. I actually took some pictures of it because I'm the one who lives locally. And they didn't want to throw all that food out. Understandably, I understand. I hate throwing out food myself. And so what ended up happening is the car that I have is actually used to be Daniel's car. So when Daniel moved, like I said, he was living here in Boston and Cambridge. And when he moved out to Oregon, which was about 2017, 18, maybe 17. Anyway, right around then, I bought his Honda Fit. Great car. It's been wonderful. But whenever he comes into town, we share it. I don't go that many places, especially with, everything with the pandemic. So between the two of us, we're fine. He can take it and come back. Anyway, they loaded all the carbs into my car. A couple of trays of all kinds of pastries, huge amount of bagels, um, quiche. They had mini quiches. Usually with quiches, I'll have the inside because the crust you can cut off. These were mostly crust and more. There was a whole lot of stuff. So I immediately called a homeless shelter. There's a homeless shelter. There's a number of them in Boston. And I figured I'm not even driving home with all this stuff. So they wouldn't take it because there was prepared food, and with COVID, totally understandable. So I pulled up in front of my house, and I see my neighbors. I have wonderful neighbors. Oh, it's a wonderful neighborhood that I live in. So I immediately am like out the door saying, Tom, Valerie, come here, come here. And I'm like, look at all this food. So they took a huge tray. And Tom actually came out a couple of days later to tell me how fabulous the cinnamon rolls were, which I never tasted. So, I had done an entire vlog last week about, you know, being able to make choices, even in the midst of all of that. The stuff that I could eat, the scrambled eggs, the lox, all of that was gone, which is fine. I didn't need any. But there I was with all this stuff. So half of it went to Tom and Valerie, and the other half of it was sitting in my kitchen. And the bagels never made it out of, like, I left them by the doorway on the inside. Um, so I'm going to just, be honest. I had one bagel. I have not had a bagel in probably 20 years. So I did. I chose one bagel, and I toasted it in my toaster oven, which I never use. I had to figure out how to use my toaster oven. Oh my God. I like that, like watching myself go through all the shenanigans. So I figured out how to use my toaster oven and had one bagel. Now, I have lipedema, I have lymphedema, carbs are not good, and I'm a compulsive eater. I mean, in addition to all of that, I mean, I'm not a, let me, let me reframe that. I have been a compulsive eater in my day as I was growing up, and I could binge. I haven't done that in most of 30 years. So to say that I still am um, is a little bit dicey. But I can say that I am addicted to carbohydrates. That I can say clearly. So I knew one bagel, if I let it, could lead to much else. So I knew I had to get rid of everything. So I'm calling neighbors and giving things away in the neighborhood. And there was that part of me. I don't know if you ever feel this. Let me see. I'm going to go look at the comments. So I don't know if any of you have safety mechanisms. So my safety mechanism is I just don't have carbs around. It's like, I don't have I don't have bread. I don't have pasta. I don't keep carbs here. I don't have potatoes or rice or anything. I have one little container with some sugar packets because if someone comes and wants sugar for their tea or coffee or whatever, I feel like as a good hostess, I should at least have an option. So I have a little bit of sugar because there's one friend particularly that has never given up sugar, and nor does he need to. People have their own pathways. So other than that, and I have some medicinal honey. Honey is very good for wound healing and as an antibiotic. So I have a special honey called Manuka honey in the house and use it as needed. It actually healed me from a very bad case of H. pylori, which is a stomach bacteria, years ago. So it's one of those things I keep around as medicinal purposes. Other than that, hi, good morning, Catherine, Karen, Doreen, Marilee, all of you. It's so good to see you, and I know there's more. I knew as I was looking at what was, all the carbs that were left, one everything bagel, I could have eaten 20 bagels. So I very quickly gave them all away, and I was like, the person I gave them to is one of my neighbors on the other side, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're the best they're from this great bagel place in Cambridge. I said, they're these special bagels, freeze them. You'll have them for, there were probably 40 bagels. There was at least like 3, 4 dozen. Um, I said, and then I watched the part of me that was like, well, maybe you should take a couple just in case. And then very clearly saying to myself, one bagel was fabulous, but 2 to 20, none of them would do it. One. And so I immediately let go, just let go and said, you know, all you need to do is be in the moment and in today. And so having Keto Fest and the wedding back to back, and like I mentioned, it wasn't just the wedding. There were 4 eating events: a dinner, the wedding, the post-wedding, the brunch, and then Monday there was something. So there were all these, activities that mostly included food. And I have to say, I did really well. And now I wish I hadn't had the bagel. No, do I? No, I don't. Let me change that. Really glad I had the bagel. I'm really glad I had it. It was delicious. And I probably won't have another one for another 10 or 20 years. But I feel that I immediately went back to my carnivore, immediately. And then I finished my 90 days this week. And then I decided, all right, I did this 90-day elimination plan that was strictly carnivore. So I introduced a little bit of fruit. I introduced a little bit of salad. I weighed and measured my food this week, back to what is for me ground zero. It's where I feel the best. Even whether I lose or where I gain or whatever happens, I know I feel the best when I know exactly what I'm eating. And I've noticed over the past few days, and especially since I went for a long walk this morning, I could feel my legs feeling a little more pain and a little more tenderness and heaviness. Um, so I'll talk about my walk in a minute. Um, so I'm noticing it. The thing that we say again and again and again, you have to be your own laboratory. N equals 1. Notice what's happening. What are you eating? Notice what's happening. So I'm going to see, because this is the first in 3 months that I've had foods that are not, well, first of all, I did have the bagel last weekend, but other than that, it's been carnivore straight through. So, yeah. So I'll see. I'm going to just keep tracking it, keep tracking it. And again, opening this conversation with one's body, just opening it up and having it, and listening and becoming aware. That to me is the most amazing part of our conversations together and the work that we're doing with Lipedema Simplified and the Lipedema Project. I do want to make one announcement because on Monday we're having an amazing webinar. Here is the webinar link. It's a free webinar, and it is with Leslyn Keith and Adi McKenzie and Veronica Rodriguez. All 3 of them are certified lymphatic therapists, and they're going to be talking about what you need to know with manual lymphatic drainage, how to manage and decrease pain and swelling and skin care and breathing exercises and movement and all of what we call CDT or complete decongestive therapies. So that is happening on Monday at 6 Eastern Time. Be sure to register if you haven't already, and be sure to come early. We actually are over the limit. We have over 1,000 people who registered, which is remarkable, and I'm so thrilled. So do come um, early, and yeah, so come and join us. We will be having a CSIG. CSIG stands for Coaching Special Interest Group. So we have it with in August. So there'll be a 4-week session with coaching in between. It's a wonderful group. But the free webinar is an introduction, tells you about it, and you have an opportunity to sign up if it's something you want to do. So I want you to know about that. Also, this is a good question. Are you eating any vegetables with the meats? I haven't been. So I haven't been eating vegetables with the meats up until a couple of days ago. So I introduced vegetables and a little bit of fruit. So I think my 90 days came up a few days ago. So on one day, I had half of a very small cantaloupe for one meal with meat. I had 3 chicken wings. And then for another meal, I had my 3 chicken wings with a 6-ounce salad, which was mostly lettuce and a little bit of just plain pepper. I did buy some asparagus. I haven't of yet bought Brussels sprouts, but I think I might, because that's my fave. I love Brussels sprouts. So thanks for your question, Catherine. Um, I am going to, try for a week or two and see how I do. And if I continue to do well, um, if not, I'm going to go back to carnivore, which is just meat and proteins. So, and I wanted to end with, though I'm going to take a few minutes, I have been working really hard to regain mobility. When I was at Keto Fest, they had a huge staircase that I had to walk up because they didn't have an elevator. And when I saw it, my heart sank and I went, oh my God, what if I can't get up this? But I did, not only once, not twice, not 3 times, but somewhere like 6 times over 2 days, up and down, 7 times actually, up and down, up and down. And it's because I've been walking every day. I started a couple months ago where I would walk every single day. And so I have a walking buddy that's really lovely. John is his name, and he's a sweetheart. He was one of my students many years ago, and we've maintained a friendship over, got to be 20 years. Anyway, we walk together. And we usually walk around Cambridge because it's fairly close and there's some wonderful walking places. But for some reason, this morning, I was like, let's try something new, something different. So we went to Boston Public Gardens. And whenever anybody comes to Boston, it's the place I say, you've got to go to the Boston Public Gardens. One thing, I don't know if you have kids or you are a teacher or grandkids, there's this wonderful book called Make Way for Ducklings. And there's a sculpture of all the ducklings in the Boston Gardens. So we met there. And the fun part about the sculpture, because there are 8 little ducklings and a mother duck, and it's like brass. I think they made the sculptures brass or some very strong weather resistant metal, because it's there through New England weather, which is really crazy. So we met at the ducklings, and people dress the ducklings up. Depends on what's going on in the city. Sometimes they have um, scarves on, like they did today. There was a whole period where they had masks on. When the women's marches were happening and everyone was wearing the pink hats, um, they were doing the pink hats. Uh, anyway, so we ended up going to the garden and we did a whole walk around the entire park. It's in the city, and so we went around. And one of the things that they have, because there's a pond in the middle with a little island, this is all very miniature, tiny. Um, they have swan boats, and the swan boats are the oldest in the city of Boston. Now, the swan boats have a few benches and this big swan where someone sits and bicycles on top of the pond. And that's what moves the swan boat. So there's this young kid, like probably 20 something, and he does that. And then the swan boats just go around on the periphery of this pond in the middle of the city. One of my favorite places forever. Like, and so whenever anybody's coming to the city, I'm like, go to the garden, make sure you go on the swan boats. It's this beautiful, beautiful environment. And so we went on the swan boats. We had to wait because I like to go early. I usually go 7:30, but we met at 8:30 today. The weather's getting hotter and more humid as the day goes on, but this morning it was perfect, and it's filled with willow trees and beautiful places and floral. It really was created as a botanical garden. And so I want to I want to just say it's a place that I know of for over 70 years since I was a kid. I think the first time I went I was a kid. And it's so amazing how something old can become new. It was like I was there for the first time, and we were in line to get to the swan boats. And I found great joy in that there were so many people there with accents from different countries. And I chatted with a woman and her young, probably grandson. They were from California. And that most of the people there were not from Boston, except for me and John. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're going back. We're making it, instead of going to Cambridge, we're going to start going to the Boston Garden again. So I will post some pictures when I get a moment. Have a wonderful day. I just wanted to share the journey. It's what I really consider this, sharing the journey. I hope you can relate. If you have any particular questions, feel free. If there's something you want to schmooze about, just let me know. And have a wonderful week. Many blessings and enjoy the journey. Bye bye.